Kyle Klingman with Track Wrestling. We are going out to California. Joey Bareng is the head women's wrestling coach at Menlo. They have an unbelievable team. We'll get into why. Joey, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Kyle. Appreciate you putting this together for us.
I appreciate it too. And what I want to do is kind of go back and look at really a strange season. So for those who follow women's wrestling, they understand that WCWA was the national tournament, split off. You had an NAIA championship and then an NCAA teams only championship. You opted not to go to the WCWAs in favor of just going to the NAIAs. The NAIAs got canceled. Any regret on not going to the WCWAs this year?
Any regret? I mean, of course, I would want to have wrestled the national tournament. So in hindsight, of course, if I could rewind, I'd do that. But I don't regret my decisions, no. At the time, it just made sense for us to just peak for one thing. And 2020 also had, a potential for the Olympic trials and a whole bunch of other stuff and then our first tournament at the national duels, there was a lot of things to worry about or to, schedule your kids for. And so cutting out the WCWA at that time made a lot of sense for us, financially made a lot of sense for us. But you're right, not getting that competition. If I had a chance to rewind it, we want to compete, So yeah, I would say, yeah.
What would you say is the future of that tournament, the WCWA tournament?
I can't really say. I don't know. It would take a lot of pull from all the teams on both sides to collaborate to make that something. I would guess based on what I saw last year and the last time it was anything worth the tournament in my mind was the year that we wrestled in it in 2019. I think it's sort of going downhill. I mean, I think everybody would agree to that. And I don't know what schools have budgets to do multiple championships and things like that. But if they keep giving it clout, meaning if they keep giving it the type of notoriety to be able to qualify to different things, it could stay around. It could stay around. I don't have any future predictions on it, but I mean, if I had to put money that it was going to blossom into this like great tournament, not betting on that horse. So.
What are your plans? Are you just planning on not going for the foreseeable future?
WCWAs? Right. Yeah. I mean, we planned it last year not to. So at this point, we've redirected what we want to do in terms of an organization and where we want to compete. We're an NAIA school. So at some point, we just have to stick with what we're doing and concentrate on potential world teams and things like that as kind of the bonus wrestling that we would get. Thinking about 2 national tournaments is too hard. It's just too many things to do. I mean, we could probably do it and do fine and compete pretty well, but I think you're doing a disservice to the athletes having them 2 national championships. I mean, already that's confusing. So it doesn't make any sense to do both.
And you guys did split off at the multi-divisional national duels. They had NCAA teams on one mat and then NAIA teams on the other. You guys won over Campbellsville in the NAIA portion. But when we think of the NAIA division, I think a lot of times people think that it takes a back seat to the NCAA championships. But in women's wrestling, that's not the case. You guys are as good as anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think the stats could speak for itself on that. I mean, if you look at men's wrestling, you think NAIA, you think NCAA. Of course, over time, the divide has grown large. And so with women's wrestling, the split just happened. I don't think the division's going to come until some of the big schools start to get wrestling, like some of the bigger name schools, like on the men's side, maybe in Iowa, maybe a Penn State. These kinds of teams start picking up women's wrestling and Division I gets sanctioned. But until that time frame, I mean, if you look at 2019 and 2018, NAIA schools were the champions of the WCWA, and I'm not taking anything away from the NCAA schools. They have some great programs on that other side too. So right now it's sort of a 50-50 split right now until something changes. And I don't know what that something's going to be, but so yeah, that's how I look at it.
California high school wrestling for girls is so deep and so loaded. You don't have to go anywhere outside your state, man.
No, man. I don't need to. There's so much talent in here that if I just stick around and I want to recruit the girls locally anyways, there's something, there's some pride around that, being able to just keep the girls in the state and, wrestle for your home state, right? Or go to the college. And there's 3 colleges now here for us. Simpson's trying to get going. I think their first year was last year. Life Pacific's first year was last year. They're new programs, but they're at least something else out here for them to do and other colleges for them to attend. Yeah, I don't need to. California team. I go to Hawaii as well, and I'll try to pick up some Washington kids that can make it work, and they see value staying on the West Coast. It's just difficult going into the Midwest, anyways, and as I go further east to try to recruit kids because of the way that the economics of California is. We're a pretty expensive state, not to mention we're an expensive school, but for all the right reasons.
What do you think California, Hawaii, the Pacific Northwest, why were they the trendsetters in women's high school wrestling?
That's a good, I don't know. I don't go far enough back to really understand what happened there. I think I can speak on Hawaii because I'm from Hawaii. I'm actually from California too, but there's a big grappling influence in Hawaii with judo. And so forever, there's black belts that are on a high school team. You might be 1 or 2 years wrestling in high school, but you're a black belt in judo. You've been training since you were 5 years old. You're not new to grappling. You know what I mean? So like there was a back in the day when I was in high school, 94 or 95 to 2000, something like that. Those girls that went off to college, Clarissa Chans, the Shelly Tomitas, the Renee, I forgot her last name now. All those Stephanie, shoot, drawing blanks. But those girls all went off and competed. They were all judo girls, and then they started learning wrestling. And it's like, well, I'm familiar in these positions. They can do well. California, I mean, I think it's just such a large state with a large population. And forever, men's wrestling, boys wrestling has been really good and really dominant. We send kids all over the country to compete, and people are pulling from our backyard all the time on the boys' end. And so when they sanctioned women's wrestling, I mean, dads have daughters too. So you just plug them into these programs that are successful and you get what you get.
How are you balancing all this with not knowing if you're going to have a season, what you can and can't do? How are you approaching college wrestling at this point?
Yeah, well, it's tough. It's tough, man. The COVID-19 has hit our state pretty hard. And we're a very liberal state. So, we're going to take things slow in terms of COVID. And there's a lot of things shut down and things are opening up and shutting down. Right now, where we're at is most of the counties in California turned purple, meaning it's like the highest level of like what you're allowed to do in your counties. And so like everything is shut down. You can't have indoor training. And so I'm looking online, seeing all these other schools. Kids are getting matches. You know what I mean? And we haven't practiced since March. So go figure that. There is a little bit of you're gonna backslide. You're gonna backslide if you don't have a contingency plan on how to keep your kids in the shape. I worry a little bit about the high school kids. How good can they get? How good are they going to keep progressing as they move along? But listen, man, people are resilient, right? They're going to do what they need to do. Wrestlers are resilient. They're going to do what they have to do or want to do. So, I know people that are getting it done still during this time. You buddy up with your neighbor or your high school teammate and you're working out in garages. I mean, how many people are calling me saying, hey, coach, my kid's working out in the garage. When are you guys getting going? Well, we're not getting going. So, they're trying to link up with us in any way possible. There's always a good and a bad to every situation. When this thing opens up, the West Coast is going to be the most fired up group of kids you've ever seen. So.
What's the team chemistry at Menlo, man? You can go down the line, whether it's Gracie Figueroa, Leda Martinez, just down the line. How do they interact? What kind of team bond do you guys have?
Yeah. Man, it's different every year, right? It's different every year. Me and my coaches talk about this, and it's funny how one new piece to the puzzle changes the dynamics of your team, or someone graduates that was like holding this portion of your group down, and when they leave, you realize you're missing that part of the system. And so every year is different. In my 8 years, 9 years now coaching women's wrestling, I've always had different squads, but we always preach the same thing every year. It's just a fundamental thing that we teach, and it's just family first. And that's what we try to do. So no matter what kids come in, I mean, that's what we do, no matter what, you know. Yeah, we have a slew of studs that you go down the list, and everyone has credentials. It's awesome, man. It's made things a lot easier for me in some ways, but it's also posed some challenges in a lot of other ways, right? How do you balance the really, really high level girls that come in, and kind of the mid-tier girls who can compete and possibly be a starter at another institution, but she's sitting the pine over at Menlo? How do you balance that? Um, how do you balance that sort of experience for them, right? So every year is different, and you have to be careful with who you bring into your unit. You have to screen everybody really closely, and really, it's like this: whoever's on the Menlo team, those are the girls we've picked to be here, you know, and we want to be here. And so that's kind of what it is. And it's going to be the same way as long as we're all coaching together. So
We talked about the national duels where it came down to the wire for the NCAA teams. Then NAI had a great shootout with you in Campbellsville. Do you like the dual meet concept? Because I do.
oh, I love it, man. I love it. I've always loved dual meets, even when I competed back in the day too. So I thought that was great. That was a tournament that I'm never gonna miss. I know, I can't believe I didn't go there before, but I really enjoyed it. Last year was a shootout. It was even a shootout in the semifinals against Life, which was fun. You know, um, we were shorthanded in terms of our group. We didn't have Gracie didn't compete, and Aleda went up, and Angela Peralta was out of the lineup. She was injured, and I know other teams were banged up, but that's my excuse. But we we knew we were going in there with the strong team. And we also knew we had some backups in the lineup. And it's just so funny that, you know, the other teams, they match up so perfectly with each other to where, like, hey, whoever wins this match right here, man, is going to win the duel. You know what I mean? And if you win that match, it's kind of a sleeper match. And if you win it, you can lock the duel. And it's like, that's where you saw the points kind of go back and forth and the momentum shift left and right. The stress of the tournament, you don't like as you're going through it, but that's why we're coaches. That's why we're athletes, because we love that. So I love the challenge. I like it to be as hard as it could be, because even if I lose, I don't care about wins or losses. I like things to be tough, so that when you finally climb over that hill, if you do, it's worth it, man. We're in this for, you know, it's worth it. So
You
it's
said
fun.
not making an excuse, but you won the darn thing.
Yeah, I mean, we wrestled well. You know, we wrestled well. We had to pull out some matches, and the girls did what they had to do. You know, they were trained well, and were ready for that. And I know it was coming off of Christmas, if I remember correctly, and you don't get a lot of mat time coming in from your break. And I think we gave our girls, because, you know, our main thing is to peak at nationals. Of course we want to win national duels, but we're peaking for nationals. So I think I gave the kids like 11 days off, maybe more, something crazy. And then we came on the mat a couple of days, really just enough to make weight. And you go out there and you compete. And again, it's like everything's fun. So it's all good.
At the NCAA tournament in Adrian, Michigan, the top two teams were Simon Fraser and McKendree. And the night before, you had Sam Schmitz and Justin Abdu. They were eating at Buffalo Wild Wings together. Do you have that kind of bond with your competitive coaches?
I like to think so. I'm pretty cool with everyone that's on the other side. Um, I don't go out though. That's not my thing. I don't hang out late. You won't see us out doing much. We like to be a little quiet and do our things the way we like to do things. And stay within our team and we have fun. It's not nothing that I don't want to hang out with anyone or anything like that, but we like hanging out. I like hanging out with my coaches so much that, like, why am I spending time with anybody else? If that makes sense.
But
And we can sit around. Go
do you
ahead.
talk to other coaches about just philosophy and what's coming up in the season, whether it's Leah Miracle or someone else?
No, I'm not that type of guy. I mean, if you asked me about it, I would go with you. But like in general, like I said, I'm in and I'm out, man. When we got competition, we go there for business, and then when it's over, we have fun. Right? Just two different things. I'm not gonna. I mean, what does that do to talk about our philosophies in wrestling? We're gonna compete against each other. To me, it's kind of like war. Like, I'm not gonna give you my strategy on how, or my mindset on what we're gonna. Somebody like me, man, you tell me the wrong thing, I'm going to use it as motivation um, to compete. So I figure these guys are the same way, and I respect all those guys. I think they're great coaches, and I've watched all their programs, and I love watching their teams. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of their teams. I love the kids that they have, and a lot of those kids, I wanted on my team. So you see them going out, and you say, "Man, look at how good she's doing over there," and you're happy for them. You know what I mean? And again, this sport is not fun if there's no neck and neck competition. If I was blowing the competition out of the water every year, I would just retire. Honestly, I would just give it up. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of competition still out there, and teams are getting stronger, and there's a lot still to be done. Um, I hit one of my goals of winning a national championship. Of course, every coach gets in, they want to do that. But, do I think I'm going to win it again? Every year, I think I'm going to win it. So that doesn't matter. I'm just having fun. That's it. And so good competition brings good competition for me.
How do you see this season ending in 2021?
I think it's shoot. The hesitation I have is the hesitation I have with the prediction of COVID. You try to be a predictor of COVID, I think you're a fool. And so just flowing with the punches, man. What do we got? What's in front of me right now? What can I do today? And what can I enjoy out of it today? That's it. They give us a season, and my kids are ready, and it makes sense for us to do all of that. We're gonna do it. If it doesn't, and we have to skip this year and go on to the next year, I feel sad for the seniors. I feel sad for all the kids who don't get to compete. But you keep moving forward, just like last year. And we taught the same lesson to them last year, and we preach it. Nothing is given to you. You can't expect things to always be there. And there's a good example of it right here. I do feel sorry for the seniors because they didn't get last year, and then they might not get this year. But I say the same thing to them. You're a wrestler. You're a grappler. Why does it turn? Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. There's other things for you to do. If you really are a true grappler, a true wrestler, just keep wrestling. No national championship's gonna define you. Just like if you don't do well at a national tournament, that doesn't define you, right? So that's what we have to preach now. I 100% believe that. That's why I don't stress about it, man.
What's it like to see women's wrestling grow like this and be part of this movement?
Man, I tell people all the time, especially my buddies that I wrestled with in college at San Francisco State. I'm like, I love wrestling again. Not that I didn't love it, but it wears on you. Wrestling is a tough sport, and it wears on you. I found a new passion for it again, like I started all the way over, because women's wrestling is a whole nother sport. And the fact that it's growing and we're growing with it, I'm so lucky to be coaching during this time. Like, just to be able to see the kids that you could recruit, roughly 10 years ago, and the athletes you have today, it's just night and day. I mean, you could get someone before that was 2 years in the wrestling, but is an athlete, and they can do well for you. Nowadays, man, you can't really dig that shallow. Otherwise, you're going against the kid that was 6 years old, wrestling since she was 6. She's got 10,000 more single legs than you got. You know what I mean? I can't out coach that sometimes. And so it's amazing. It's starting to get to that point where the state tournaments in every given state, they're legit, people are getting upset at the high school level now, and it's just getting good. And you're seeing some high level wrestling come out on the women's side that you just didn't see a decade ago. And not to take anything away from those girls, because they wrestled with boys all the time. They were just so tough, man. So it's great. This is a great movement. I'm super blessed and happy to be a part of it. And I have daughters. I have two. I have a son as well, but and then they're gonna experience something totally different. So good news.
We'll end with this. This is some trivia. You went to San Francisco State. You're from Hawaii. Do you know who beat Travis Lee at Midlands in the first round from San Francisco State?
Let me think. I think I was in the corner of that match, of course. And one of my best friends, Donna Lockett, beat Travis Lee at Midlands. And that was a special match for me because I competed against Travis in Hawaii. And I don't know that a lot of people know that story, but I was a state champion. He was a runner-up the year before, and I was going into potentially win my second title, and Travis beat me in the finals. And my senior year, he moves up to 19s. Of course, I have to go to 19s. I think we both have an undefeated campaign going into the state championships, and I lose in the semifinals by a really tough kid. I get grand beat or something like that, lose by one. I still remember that. And he goes on to win his second. Yeah, he goes on to win his second and eventually wins his third and has his amazing career at Cornell. And so for me to line up with my drill partner at Midlands, knowing that he had a match against Travis and get that upset, even though I didn't do it, and I don't take any credit for the match at all, but it just felt good, and it felt good to get that, to just watch Donald get that victory. And I think that was I would call that the biggest upset of that year, But, Travis has gone on to do amazing things, and man, he's done so much for the state of Hawaii and for his family and everything. He's amazing. And just watching that guy in his career from afar, it just speaks highly about the Hawaii boys and what we do. We can compete, we can go out, small state of Hawaii, and put guys out like that, who can compete. And Travis was one of the best, man.